And I do remember, I think Mr. Gbillah has made some study into this, so maybe, Markwe, you could guide us through this one. Go ahead.
Oh, yes, thank you, Chamberlain. We have with us in the studio now Honorable Mark Gbillah, who is a lawmaker representing Goe East and Goe West of Benue State. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily.
Thank you, Martha. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm sure you'd like to quickly wade in on this conversation. You are a current serving member of the National Assembly. You're listening to conversations around this welcome package, in quotes, and people are saying we cannot justify this given the current economic realities.
Okay, thank you very much. This is a conversation that I would wish your channel would dedicate an entire program to, because in the 9th Assembly, part of what we're going to have to do is to put things in the right perspectives for Nigerians to understand. Let me start very quickly because of time. First and foremost, Nigerians need to determine whether or not we want to have a democracy. Now, the bastion of democracy is the legislature. Everywhere in the world, take away the legislature and you don't have a democracy.
We want to have a democracy, but the question is at what cost?
That's the point. What is the comparative analysis that Nigerians have done all over the world about the cost of a legislature? For instance, let me give you some analysis very quickly, because on this channel once one of your an analyst made some erroneous assumptions about the Nigerian legislature. Let me start very quickly by saying that in Africa, Nigeria still has the least allowances in total compared to certain countries like Tanzania and Kenya, who are not even in the status of our country. But let me not delve into that first. Let me address frontally the issue of this so-called welcome package. There's no such thing as a welcome package. People are coming to occupy a new office. In every company, there are many people, company executives, who are listening to this program. There are a lot of foreign officers who understand where we're coming from. You're moving to a different location to take up an office. You need to have accommodation. You need to have logistics. These are fundamentally basic things that you need to have. So a lot of things you hear about are false. So for instance, what is it that is allocated for accommodation? My colleague very rightly said is in the region of 3 to 4 million. Now, in terms of realistically looking for accommodation in Abuja, a lot of us could not afford to live in the municipal. We had to go to the outskirts. Now, these are individuals that, by virtue of their election, have become a security risk because of the fact that these are people that should ordinarily be exposed to classified information and intelligence about our country by our laws. Everywhere in the world, this is something that is recognized and appreciated. And secondly, even when it comes to the issue of the vehicle allowance, which is not enough to buy you a brand new vehicle, which is the region of 7-8 million, it is a loan. It's not a gift. Throughout the tenure of your office, you pay it back. People don't know the sacrifices that members make. We should realize, too, that in the legislature all over the world, it is expected that people with the intellectual acumen and exposure are the ones that should be elected to occupy those offices.
Honorable, let me get you straight. Are you saying that part of this welcome package we are talking about is a loan?
Yes.
And it's going to be paid back?
That is the part my colleague didn't say. The vehicle allowance is a loan.
The vehicle allowance is a loan, yes. But yes. That's not included in the welcome package.
It is part of it. It's part of it. When they say the welcome package, when they say welcome package, there is no such thing as a furniture allowance. That's one thing my colleague did. It's an accommodation allowance. And it's a one-off, hold on, let me clarify this, a one-off allocation for the next 4 years. That means if you break it down, you're actually paying about 1-point-something million annually. So you're left on your own for the rest of your tenure to know how to pay. If you go and get a house for the whole 4 million, you need to look for how you are going to pay for it for the next 4 years. You see, these are the things that Nigerians are not clarifying. For some of us, wherever we due humility and respect to my Nigerian people, we took a pay cut. We took a sacrifice to do this, coming from the background and the business and the status I would have been earning.
The sacrifice is very questionable, Honorable. When you look at the fact that, I mean, you say it's a loan. We've been told that members oftentimes ask that this loan be turned into a grant.
No.
Isn't that the reality?
No, that's not the reality. The reality as we speak, and it hasn't changed since our democratic experiment, every time a new assembly comes on board, certain aspects of what we get are allowances. Specifically, I mentioned the vehicle allowance. Now, I wish we had more time, but let me make a little comparison. The total amount we're talking about here, with every due respect to the executive, because SERAP, for instance, is doing a good job, but they should beam their searchlight on every aspect of government and realize that there are certain things a country has to realize they need to incur if they want to be able to achieve their constitutional
So this
objectives.
is what we will have to incur. The question we should ask our lawmakers is, and also politicians in general, is this sustainable? Because these are questions that Nigerians are asking. The cost of governance as we currently have it, is it sustainable? As a lawmaker, what's your response to that?
We are not doing anything that is impossible for this country to sustain, even at the point we are now. Let me give you an example. Do you realize that every annual budget, the entire budget of the National Assembly is 1.2 or 1.4%? Only last year it has come back down to about 1.2. The judiciary, you know, we have 3 arms of government.
Just as you mentioned the National Assembly now,
yes.
Honorable Oro was saying that that members of the National Assembly are not aware of the breakdown of the National Assembly's budget. Is that correct?
Well, let me say the intricate details. Yes. What I mean by intricate details is how much is allocated for each committee, because we have about 90 committees. So yes, some of these details are cumbersome, but we know that yes, this is the budget that we have. Then certain details that we would also like to know, for instance, is, and this is a part Nigerians need to understand, when they say you have a budget of 125 billion, you hear it all over the press, people telling you they divide it amongst, that is ludicrous. We have a National Assembly Commission. We have a National Assembly Service.
Well, we've been told that over and over again.
Exactly.
Sorry, I have to interrupt you, Honorable, because we have to go on break now. We'll come back. We were talking about security, because you heard Honorable Gbillah try to justify, you know, why members should stay in Abuja Municipal, for instance, and not on the outskirts, because it might not be safe. Should it really be that way? We'll be talking about that in a moment. Please stay with us.